Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show how to work with the DynamoDB table using Python. This tutorial is a fully hands-on and basically I'm covering how to query using partition key, global index and the local index, how to do scanning, then insert followed by the update, more importantly the bulk deletes. So other than this, I'm going to show some tips and common errors you get while working with the DynamoDB table, of course with a solution. As usual, if you like this content, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Same time, you will get a notification when I publish a new video in future. So right now, let's get into work. Right, so I'm in a AWS console in a DynamoDB table dashboard. So if you do not know how to come, so basically what you need to do, if you go to your first screen and you can type DynamoDB table over here and you can click on the DynamoDB table. Once you click, it's come to the dashboard of the DynamoDB table, so where you can create a new table. So currently I don't have any table. What we're going to do, we're going to create a new table. So click on the tables and create table. So you can give a name. So in this case, I'm going to give a name as a demo dash dynamo dash python. So over here, you can specify partition key and the sort key. So with this tutorial, what we're going to do, we're going to add a partition key and the sort key both. So let's set the partition key as a customer ID. And the sort key could be odd ID. And both are string, and so keep the default setting. So in this tutorial I'm not going to talk about the DynamoDB table, so basically we are going to talk about how to query using the Python. So if you like a DynamoDB table on deep, so I do have a few videos and you can have a look. So I'll put in the link description in the further down. So let's create a table. Right, so sure, table is getting created. And yep, so table got created, now it's active. So what we're going to do, if you see the table, so currently we don't have any data, so you can explore the data item over here, or you can go to explore item on the left side. As you can see, there's no any data. So in the UI you can get more spaces, so click on the close button here. You can use a query. When you asking query, you can select the table and you can see customer IDs already comes as a partition key. You can put the customer ID and the sort key. You can do the sort key and you can do the sorting based on the sort key. Right, so this is the DynamoDB got created. What we gonna do now, so we will go to VS Code and do some populate some data into this table and do some start querying. Right, so I'm in the VS Code and currently I'm in the folders, but currently it's an empty folder. So let's create a Python project and we will start populating, connect to DynamoDB table, populate some data and start querying. Right, let's create a file which is called index.py, and for the Python it's better to create a virtual environment, so then you are not messing up your root installation. So what we're going to do, Python, we create a Python environment first, -m and venv, and I get the venv as a folder. So this will create a virtual environment for me. I don't need, I will do the same thing. It's got created, so now we need to activate the environment. So what I'm going to do, type source and give it the path and create activate. So this will currently you can see .env env. So currently I am in a virtual environment. So let's see this one is working. So we do have a Python. Let's have a look whether this is working. Hello. DynamoDB. Right, let's do that. And Python 3. Cool, does work. Right, now the Python environment is up and running. Now let's create a let's start creating Python code which populates some data. Right, so first of all, for connect AWS account, so what you need to do, you need to something called Boto3. Boto3 is a Python library which used to connect to AWS resources. What we can do, we need to install Boto3 in this virtual environment. So to do that, what we can do, we can create a requirement file, QU requirements.txt, and Boto3. So we can mention all the requirement on the txt file, and then what we need to do, we need to install Boto3 in virtual environment. I'm going to use pip3 install, then give it the requirement file, and then give it the target. So basically in this case our target will be our virtual environment, Python 3 and site. So as you can see, pip3 install R stand for where's the requirement file, and all the dependencies you can define in the requirement file, and the T is the target. So once it's done, this should install all the Boto3 dependencies in my virtual environment. So it's done. We can close it. Now what we need to do, we need to get a few imports. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm copy the few imports which going to use to connect to our AWS account. Right, so basically what we need to do, we need to resources from Boto3 and the attribute and the key from the Boto3 DynamoDB to condition, and plus datetime. I need some, I'll show where we use datetime. So this is not necessary, but it's okay. The first one is basically we need to create a connection between your machine and the DynamoDB table in the AWS. So how do you do that? So let's create a resource, give it a name, demo table, and the resource we are using the Boto3 resources come from Boto3, and give it the table name. This is a table name you gave while you are creating the table in the AWS. So DynamoDB, this is a DynamoDB resource, this is a keyword. So that's all. So this one, let's we will make it as an insert. So the first method we're gonna try, insert is some data. So create the insert is some data. I'll paste some code and go through. Right, so this one, cool. Right, so I'll delete this one, we don't need. Cool. So then we can call insert over here. Just a sake of simplicity, I do not use more fine-tune organizing the code. So this is basically I'm creating the method for each function, insert, scan, query, and calling from in the same file. So this is just to familiarize with the code. Right, so in this case what you can see, I put the demo insert, this is a print and the response. So what we're going to do, demo table and put items. This is a method or function you can use to create a data in DynamoDB table. So demo table is just one that is reference to the actual DynamoDB table what we created, and the item, you can give it an item. Item is a keyword. It's accepting object. So within the object, as a DynamoDB table is a NoSQL database, you can put whatever the attribute you like, but you need to mention your custom ID, which is a partition key. This is a partition key which you need to provide, partition key, and the sort key. So you have to provide sort key as a compulsory while you are inserting. So then I do using another attribute called a status and the created date. This is where I am using the date time, so I can insert the record and identify okay when it's got created. So this is again the partition key and the sort key, and that's all you need to do. Like basically while you executing this line, you will get the response, and now I'm gonna print this response. Just before that, what you need to do, because if you run this program, it's not gonna work at the beginning. What you need to do, you need to set up your AWS profile in CLI. So I installed the CLI, AWS CLI, and plus you need to configure your profile. So already I set up my profile. So right, so as I mentioned, my AWS CLI is properly configured to connect to my AWS account. If you do not know how to configure your AWS CLI with your profile, so I'll link at the link in below, so you can follow and you can do the configuration AWS CLI. Right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this application Python 3, and my file is index.py. So this one should create a record. So let's say, okay, cool. So what we're going to do, this is logs and insert response. This is a response I'm gonna push. As you can see, we get the response successful with the 200 HTTPS 100. So let's have a look what's the database look like after inserting this. Right, cool. I'm back in my AWS console and go to the explore item, check my table, export table items, and if I run this one, okay, we don't need to do the select the scan and run it. So here we go, we get the data from the Python. So we create one record to the Python, so this is where we got the record. Let's create a couple of records. Right, so we will create a few records. So for example, for the customer, we create a odd ID 1. Right, success. Let's say for the same customer, we will create another record. And let's see what's in our data table. So if I run this again, okay, so something wrong. Let's go and have a look. Seems like it didn't get created. Let's have a look and what's wrong there. Right, so I found the issue. Basically what happened, I didn't save the file after changing. That's why it got the didn't get created. So now you can see we got 3 records, with the first customer has a order 1 and order 2, and the second one has a order 3. So let's add another one, maybe order 4 for the customer 1, and see this guy is working. Right, so it's there. Now if I see, there should be 4 records, with this first customer has 3 records, and the second customer has a 1 record. Now let's see what's happened if I run for a third customer without odd ID, so which is a sort key. So because what I want to show you, the error is not, sometimes maybe it's hard to understand where it's wrong. So that's why I want to show you this error. If I run this, if you want to create another one, basically let's say custom 4 without the odd ID, it should give error. Okay, it should give an error. So if I run this one, right, here we go. So you see the error. So it's basically what I just say, it's failing, it's unable to create a record without odd ID. The error is look like, say, you can see the put item operation, the one or more parameter values were invalid, missing the key odd ID in the item. So basically it's specifically say odd ID, which is a sort key is missing, so you can easily figure out okay what's wrong, and you need to start providing the odd ID. So right, once as far as you done, so it should start creating the record. So down it's created. So this is how you can insert record to DynamoDB table through the Python. So now let's go to the query scan. Right, so I got the code for the select scan. So rather than calling insert, we call the select scan now. So in this case, what you can see, okay, this is a print, and what we're going to use something called a filter expression. Over here, what we're going to do, filter expression is in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to scan using the status and giving the value as pending. Basically, what we need all the record with the status, the column is status, the value is pending. Whatever the status with the pending, I need to go to all the records. That's my select scan. Over here, what we're going to do in the DynamoDB, what's going to happen if you're asking some data, it's not going to send all the data as on one shot. So it's basically do the pagination. And here what we need to do, as far as we need to do this kind of while loop, we need to keep bringing the data to your application, because as I mentioned, DynamoDB does not send all the data, let's say, to your application. The data table has like 1,000 record. The 1,000 record won't send in a one batch. You need to keep getting the data. So here, that's why we are using the last evaluate k. If the what we gonna do here, so we do have a response, and initially response is last value key is a false, and some point this value will be true. So what we're gonna do, if the value is in the response has a value key over there, and then we're gonna go a while loop and fetch the data. So here we do the same query. As you can see, the DynamoDB table scan, the filter expression, this is a filter expression where we need to set here, and the exclusive side started key, we need to set up the last started key as a false. If else, again we need to keep getting the data until we see the condition until get the false. So once it got everything, what we need to do, we need to every time it's go, we added our items. We get this is the DynamoDB response we are getting from the DynamoDB table, and it has an item, it has a property called items. We get the items and adding each item into item list. This is item list we are setting, and finally we are printing each item over here. So we will see an action, then it's get a better understanding. So if I do now, maybe I give some bit spaces, more spaces, and if I run this index.scan, what you can see here, we go right, response else, it's because my table doesn't have much data, so it has only 5 records. It's bringing at the one go, it's a one batch. So if you have a more than I'll need to check. So the more data, you need to it goes to if and then else, so on, it's until it's get the whole bunch of data. So as you can see, this is my print statement. So I'm printing each item. As you can see, we get the custom ID, odd ID, created, and status. All are status pending. So if I change the value into let's say I'm going to change something into different in the backend. Let me change let's change one of the order into completed and see what's the response. Right, let's edit one of the record into completed. complete, and this record should not come in the Python program. Let's go back to our Python application. Now let's try. Okay, cool. Now let's try again the same one. So as you can see, we missing one record. The earlier we got 5 records. Now we get the only 4 records because it's filtering by the status. But the scan is really costly, so we should not do the scanning all the way because scan basically read the whole table. If you have a 10,000 record in the table, it's gonna read one record each time. Basically it's read the whole table, and it's very costly. So now what we need to do, if you want to do the query using the partition key, next one is how to do the partition key query using the partition key. Let's get in there. Right, so I got the query for query by partition key. We will change it to query by partition key this time. So over here, what we need to do, we need to create a, first thing is we need to create a filter expression. The filter expression, again, it's something like we did it for the scan same way. What we do now, it says something key comes from the Boto DynamoDB conditions, and this is the partition key, and this is the partition key value. This is the value we want to search on. And again, same thing, DynamoDB. In this case, rather than scan, this should be query. So within the query, it's accepting the parameters. It's a object. It's a few objects. So basically, one is a key condition expression. So key condition expression accessing the expression we created in here. So you can actually cut this one into paste here, but I just keep it a little bit cleaner for over here, because if you have a more than one filtering expression, you can use in the separately and add here. So in this case, what we're gonna do, our partition key is a custom ID, and what we're gonna do, we send a customer ID. Let's say what we do have a customer cust01. Let me check my customer table. Right, so let's query by customer ID. Copy and over here. So let's do query by customer 1. So we pass in the custom value which gonna assign here, and it's gonna query. So if we run this application, we should get a few records. As you can see, this is our new query, select query, and this is a query response. So query response is a whole response, and if you check only the item, let's have a look. Only the items. Item is the array. So what we can do the same thing over here. So this one, list item ID is response has a property called items. We are getting the items, and then we can go through each one, looping through. So this is a query. Yes, with the customer 1, we do have only 3 records. We got the 3 records. If I run customer 2, we should get only 1 record. So we got the 1 record. So this is how you can do the query, very easy. And next up, we will do a query using global indexes. Right, so now we are going to do just before the global index, I want to show how to do the ordering. So in this query, basically we are we are querying by the partition key, which is a custom ID, and then as you can see, we are doing the sorting. So if I do the scan index forward, let's try with data, and then we will see how does it look like. So as you can see, this is ordering. ordering happening through the our sort key, which is a odd ID. As you can see, if it's a true, it's going with the ascending order. So order 1, order 2, and order 4. So if I do the false over here, so it's gonna order by the descending. So again, it's used the sort key to sort in the record. So the first time, if it's a true, scan index forward is true, it's gonna order by ascending. Otherwise, it's gonna order by the descending. Pretty easy. Very helpful when you do the query and if you want to do some ordering. So next one, we're going to do through the global indexes. How to do the query through the indexes. Right. Let's say you want to, so all these query we are doing through the partition key. So let's say there's a requirement you want to query through the status. So if you want to do the query through the status, you are not allowed to do the query because status is not a partition key. So in such a cases, what you want to do, you can use a scan, but scan is not recommended because it's, as mentioned, scan is doing the reading the whole table. So what we can do, we can call indexes. So there are two types of indexes. One is a global index and the local indexes. So a global index can be created after a table get created, but the local index, if you want to add the global index, you want to create the local index at the time you create the table. So I do have a couple of videos about global index and local index. You can refer in the comment below. So if the requirement is, as I mentioned, we need to query through the status. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to create a global index on the status column. Let's go to the AWS and create a global index on the status column and come back. Right, so I'm in the AWS console again. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to table and select our table and go to indexes, and currently we don't have any indexes. So over here we can create the global index. As I mentioned, you can create a global index after creating the table or even at the beginning of the table, but the local index you must create at the time you create in the table. So for the demonstration purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a local global index. Let's say global index is on our column is a status. We currently don't have a column called status. We need to create a global index on the status column. So I'm not going to give a sort key. So let's give a index name which is called status dash index. So keep all the settings as it is in the default. This one attribute operation again, so you can give all the attribute in the table, or you can specify few keys. So what's going to happen if you use the global index, if you specify all, it's bringing all the columns. You can query all the columns. If you select only keys, you are not able to get other columns, other attribute. For example, let's say you have a attribute called created date, updated date. Those are not available if you select only keys. So in this case, let's clear all, create index. Created the index with get few seconds. What we're going to do, as you mentioned, our index name is status dash index, which is on top of the status column, right? So what we're going to do, we go back to VS Code and start checking how does the code look like. Right, so as you can see, our global index is up and running, it's active. The name is status dash index. On the column is status. We create the global index on the column called status. Now let's go to Python application and see how do we query. So this is how we can query the data through the global index. It's pretty standard, same way we do for the queries using the partition key, but only different is the index name. So filter expression is come with the key and the column name, which is the column status, and the whatever the filter value. And over here we are doing the query because we are using the global index, and the index name is status.index, and the rest of thing is pretty same. And plus we are doing the sorting through the sort key. So if I run this application, as you can see, we are filtering. So we do have some code further down, that's why it's running. I'll get this. Think about this. This is the code is running. So basically, if I run again, as you can see, we got the. I'll get more spaces over here. Right. So as you can see, we filtering all the record with the status pending. So if I run the completed. So we should get only one record. So it's very easy. It's same way we are doing through the partition key. Same way we need to follow the same pattern, except this index name. So the other one is there's another one. Next one is how do we query using the partition key and the sort key. So this is a custom level. In this case, what we can see, there are two expression, filter expression, two filter expression, one for the partition key, which is a custom ID, the second one sort key, which is odd ID. And over here, which is querying, same way we did, it's so familiar. And only thing is we need to concatenate two expression, the filter expression first one and the second one. So if I run this application, let's run this and see how look like the data. Right, as you can see, we are filtering with the customer ID 1 and the order ID 1. If I run 1, let's see whether it's get the right value. Yeah, we get the right value. So this is how you can do the query using the partition key and sort key. But one trick here, so because you are Python, more likely you're gonna use this AND expression over here rather than the ampersand. So if I do use AND in the Python, because I use the Python AND, it's gonna break the whole thing, and it's hard to figure out what's wrong with the query. So I'll show you what's the error. If I run this with the Python AND, not the ampersand, what's going to happen? See what's the error it's look like. Right, so I ran the query with the AND. What's going to happen? It's throw error, and what it says, validation exception. So it says query condition miss a key schema element custom ID. But looking at the query, yes, we provide the custom ID, so nothing wrong, but still it's claiming a miss key schema custom ID. So what's going to happen? It doesn't especially say what's wrong with this, and it's silent says something else. It's if you see the first time, it's really confused and you won't figure out what's wrong in over here. So therefore, make sure you are added the filter expression, make sure to add ampersand rather than literal AND. So that's a good hint if you are running this sort of issue. Right, next one, let's try with the next one. Okay, what we're gonna do, we comment out, keep adding the code. So this code will be available in the GitHub, so you can go and have a look. So next one is update. Let's say you want to update some code. So this is how you want to update. Right, update. For the update, you want to give a customer let's say cus 01, and you need to update the status into, let's say, completed, let's say all the completed. Right. This is a query, and now let's run this query. Right, so basically I ran this query, and what I got an error saying update expression attribute name is reserved keyword. Reserved keyword is a status. Right, let's go check and what the queries look like. As you can, this is an update query. What we're gonna do, we're gonna update the status of the customer ID. So we send the customer ID 01, and we need to change the completed, the status into completed. So I'll remove this because this is noise, and here we go. What we can see, the status, it says a reserve keyword. We can't use a reserve keyword in DynamoDB table. In this case, status is a DynamoDB table reserve key, so we cannot use any reserve key. There's another way you can use a reserve key. So let's see how do we using. So this is how you paste the code, and let's go through. Copy. Right, the same query, except so one thing again, you need to mention the OD ID to make it work. So please make sure you add in the OD ID when you update the query, because you need to mention the OD ID. Right, to overcome the reserve keyword, what we can do, so you can see that we do have a update, in this case update table, update item, because this is update, and the key is a custom ID. And in this case, what we're going to do, update the order number, order 3. We can pass the order number over here. So just a simplicity, I'm updating order 3 over here. And update expression is set status into giving some parameter, passing the parameter R, and the update date, we are adding the new column called updated, and the parameter is a D. So the parameter is defined in over here. So actual values we pass in through here. So update expression, this is a kind of placeholder. And just to make sure, like as you can see, update expression in the earlier one, we just mentioned the status, but over here what we're going to say, it's a hash status. Furthermore, what we added, the expression attribute name. So the first query didn't have expression attributes. It does have values, not the names. So the name is basically something, a workaround to use the keywords. Even though status is a keyword, with the expression attribute name, we can use the status in our query. What we need to do, as you can see, you need to use the hash status, and then the same hash comes to here and define, okay, what is the intention, what is the actual column which reference to the hash status. In this case is a status. That's all you want to do to update. And if you want to use the a keyword, so if I run again this one, again it's get the keyword status. Let's have a look what is wrong. Okay, cool. Still we are calling the top method. So what we're going to do, we need to call the update with the expression name. So let's call this. Here we go. Currently, yes, we are not dumping the response. Let's dump in the response. See how does it look like the response. Response. Let's see. Right, so response is basically status completed, which change it to completed and updated so on. So if I see the date, which is customer 1 with the order 3, if I go to our table, explorer table, and customer 1 with the order 3, let's let's have a look which one we updated, which is customer 1, the order 3. Let's see order 3. Where's the order 3? Still it's a pending. Let's have a look. Let's run again. Scan. Cool. Yeah, now it's here we go. So it got cached. Basically what you can see, custom 1 as order 3, which change into the status called completed and with the some updated date. Right, this is if you want to update, let's say customer 2 with the order 3 into completed. Let's customer 2 with the again order 3. This should goes to completed. Let's run this, save it, make sure it's saved, and if we give a refresh, right, customer 2 with the order 3 got completed with the updated. So right, yeah, that's look like it's working with the update. The next one is a delete. So let's go and have a look how the delete work. So I got comment out this, and I'll get the copy code and paste here. Right, so I got the query to delete a transaction as a batch. So basically most of the time we need to delete more than one record. So this is how you can use Python to delete more than one record. This is a method. So what we're gonna do, we pass in some array. So in this case, this is a item to delete, which is an array, and the array is a consist with the object. So in this case, what you can see, this is a order ID 1. This is a ID, which is a custom ID. The order ID is a order 4. To delete the DynamoDB table, because currently we do have a partition key and the sort key, we must provide both keys. So if we do not provide the sort key, it's gonna break, because it says you need to add the schema is not it's not correct. So you want to add the order ID. So please make sure whenever you need to delete, you need to add the partition key and the sort key. In this case, I'm only sending the one object. So let's have we can pass another object, which is I create a 2 record the 5. So I'll show you the table first. We do have a cus4 with the order 4 and the cus5 with the order 4. Again, it's the same. Okay, so we need to say order 4, right? So if I run this query, what's going to happen? It should delete both records from the table. So if I run this, let's run this. Right, cool. We are not dumping any response, so because response is not there, response there, but I'm not doing. You can see the what's the response. So if I check the table, if I give a refresh, as you can see, customer 4 and customer 5 is gone. Right, this is how you can delete the delete a multiple record using the Python. So if I go through the code a little bit to understand, as you can see, we are using the demo table, which is the table we are going to use, and use the batch writer of function. So this is returning the batch, in this case batch, and what's going to do, we go through the each item, the one that we are passing, and get each item and call the bash.delete item. So in this case, it's not gonna call database each item. So it's basically get everything and run only one query. So just one query will delete everything. So it's not like, for example, if you want to delete 1000 records, it's not gonna send in the 1000 response. It's 1000 requests. It's send one request with everything in a one batch. So it's very in terms of performance, it's a good way to delete more data using the Python in this way, as using the batch writer. So yeah, that's pretty much for the today tutorial. What's we're gonna do, I'll upload this whole code, all the queries in the GitHub, and put the link below, so you can have a look. If you get stuck, you can have a look. Right, so as I mentioned, that's all for the today. So if you hope you enjoy the video, if you have any question or comment, please comment below. I'm happy to help or happy to answer whenever I get a time. So again, so if you like this video, if you enjoy, if you think this is this adds something for you, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.